Let's walk through the landscape design process for a custom home that's right behind me here. I don't get to do a lot of landscape design anymore, but whenever we have our local parade of homes, I do help out some of the home builders getting their homes ready for the parade because it's good advertising for us. So let's go take a look. All right, this house is a beast. It's almost done, so it's looking really good, but the landscaping is gonna put the icing on the cake. Obviously, there's no sod in here yet. Now we're gonna be focused on the front of the house today. Over here on the side, the builder told me they're just gonna do sod over here, but we are gonna lay out where we're gonna put our flower beds up here and start picking out plants when we get back to the store. Just kind of showing you what it looks like before and what the front of this house looks like. Got a lot of room to work with here. All right, so first thing first, we figure out the layout and size and shape of the flower beds. We're gonna do one flower bed on this side of the sidewalk and one flower bed on the other side that goes around to the other corner. And I'm thinking we'll start the flower bed just inside of this downspout because I do not like having downspouts inside flower beds. So if we can start the footer like right about there, and then we'll loop it around, and I'll draw this all out and you'll see. The house faces almost due north, so we're gonna have limited sunlight, especially in these areas that are tucked up closer to the house, like maybe that area over there. But in the summertime, we will get a lot of sun over on this corner and that corner over there. So we'll start sketching this out and taking a look at what's gonna do well here. But basically, I like to get some larger plants on these corners of the house, have something real pretty by the front entryway, maybe something in that little nook over there, and figure out how we're gonna make this house look super nice. All right, I got the pictures and the measurements I needed, so now let's get back to the shop and get to the drawing board. So the builder was nice enough to send over a site plan. This is the front of the house here. So I enlarged it on this piece of paper and then went ahead and traced it onto a separate piece of paper. And then I realized that it did not look like my pictures and what the house looked like because this is missing the porch. So I had to add the porch and the sidewalk in here. So here's where we're starting. I'm doing this old school because I used to have some fancy landscape design software on my old computer when I used to do this a lot, but we're just gonna do it all on paper now. So next step is we're going to trace out the shape of those flower beds and figure out what that's gonna look like. So the big thing is I like to make sure that we start on the same side of the sidewalk. We don't wanna have one bed that's shorter than the other, farther from the house, however you wanna say that. And then we're also gonna wrap around the edge of the house. Remember that downspout was right about here, so the flower bed's gonna start right about there. And then with flower bed design, you never wanna get too crazy with too many curves because it looks weird if you do that. So we just want gentle sweeping curves is gonna look the nicest, unless you're doing straight beds. So we're gonna just kind of gently sweep out this way, and we're gonna wrap around here and we're gonna connect it together. So that's all there is to it when it comes to a flower bed curve. And then this house, you wanna match this curve for the right side, but since the house sets, well, that was that. Since the house is set back a little bit further on this side compared to this room that sticks out on this side.
That cat's got something in his mouth again. Just be on the lookout, I suppose.
10-4, we know.
So now we just have to figure out some sort of continuity on this side of the bed. And it may be that we just kind of start off on the same sort of line. I think we need to actually go in a little there. And then we'll drag this out. And I'm just gonna play with this line until it looks right. Don't like that. You know, I might take this further in like this. And that'll allow me to take that further and make a more dramatic curve. That's looking better. I'm liking that better. Now in real life, if you are at the house, one thing you can do is either get marking paint and paint these lines onto the dirt or onto the grass, or you can get a piece of rope or garden hose and actually lay this out on the ground until you find a shape that you like the shape of. Okay, next I'm just gonna mark where we have windows. That way I know to not put shrubbery in front of a window. So we got a window here. Well, that's not to scale. That window's quite a lot bigger. So we got a window there. We got blank wall space here. We have that little inlet, and then we've got a small window on this wall. Large window back here. Takes up most of this wall space. This is sidewalk space right in front of that window. It's hard to see. But this is all concrete where I have these lines. And then we've got a window in the middle here that we don't want to block. We have this really high up window here, but we're not going to plant anything that's going to be high enough to reach this window up there. And then there also is a house number here. So we wouldn't want to plant something that blocks this house number eventually. So those are all just kind of my notes to make sure that we're doing the right size plants for this house. On these corners, I'm wanting something larger, maybe conical here. So we may put some Nellie Stevens hollies on those corners just to anchor them down. So we'll draw a couple circles there. That'll represent those. I know for sure on these pillars underneath the outdoor lighting, this would be a good spot for sunshine ligustrum because it gets about 4 to 5 feet tall and it can stay trimmed and look nice and tidy, and it'll be bright right next to the front door. So we'll pencil those in there. Okay, now these aren't really blooming plants. I think I want to do a couple of larger blooming shrubs for this spot by this tall window and near the house number. I think if we put we've got some really nice Rose of Sharon trees out there. So I think one of those would look really nice there. Handwriting's not great. And then on this corner, I would like to do something kind of large and showy there. And that's gonna be Vitex. And it'll just kind of take up this whole area, and they can trim it to whatever size they want it to be. Now we've got some open area here, which is gonna be these two spots. And I'm just gonna throw some dwarf Yopons back there. It's pretty shaded. And so I need something that can perform in the shade and be evergreen and look nice back there. So those are gonna be. Now this house obviously is not symmetrical, but we do want to have some balance to it. So that's why we're repeating the Nellie Stevens on both sides. We've got the dwarf Yopons on both sides. These are not the same thing on both sides, but that's fine. But we are gonna add in another cluster of matching shrubs for both sides. And I'm gonna do these kind of in a triangle shape here. And I'm gonna do that same thing right over here. And for these shorter shrubs, I'm gonna go with like Kaleidoscope Abelia would be a good choice. Same here. I definitely don't have the architect handwriting. All right, almost done here. I'm gonna do seasonal color because I know this is the parade home and he wants it to look really good with lots of color. So we're gonna add in whatever seasonal color, whether that's lantana or periwinkles or whatever it may be. That's gonna be some nice bright pops of flowers along here. And then we're gonna do that also along this spot, this front border here. And we'll pick that out as we get ready to deliver the plants over. So we'll have those two nice areas of color. And then the only space we have left is like right in here. And so I'll probably just pop a couple of Obsession Nandinas in there just to kind of fill this space because I think that's going to be pretty shady as well, and they can handle that. And we'll be done with this portion of it. So I'm done here with the drawing portion. Now I'm going to submit this to the home builder, see what he thinks, and if everything is good to go, then they are going to come in and purchase these plants, and then we'll get them over there and show you what this looks like when they are in the ground. Okay, it's now 3 days later since we submitted the plan. The builder loved the plan. He liked the design. He says the concrete curbing is now in, but it did not come out as large as I drew it out. I gave him the dimensions, but I guess the installer made the beds a little bit smaller. So we're gonna go take a look. We're actually at the house to see if we still have enough room for all those plants that I drew in there. So let's go take a look. All right, so it looks like they followed the shape really well of the bed. The only thing is they made the beds not quite as deep as I wanted. I want them to be, you know, about maybe 3 or 4 more feet out this way, just so we have more room for plants. But I think we can still work with this. You know, looking at the plans, we may need to rearrange things a little bit. One concern is I had the Vitex right here, and I was planning on putting a larger one in there, like a Shoal Creek Vitex, but that may be a little bit overpowering since we have to tuck it so close to the house now. So we may just go with a more dwarf variety there, like the Flipside Vitex or something like that. But I think with everything else that's on the plan, we can work with this. So I'm gonna head back to the store, gather up the plants, and ask him what day he wants them out here. And hopefully next time we're back at this house, everything will be planted. And I'm thinking he's got to have sod. I'm not doing the sod. I'm thinking the sod's going to be installed before the weekend too, hopefully, because the parade starts in about 6 days. So we are up against the clock to get this ready. It looks like they've started trenching for irrigation back there. So once the sprinkler guys are done, then they're going to put sod in here, and we're gonna get these plants planted, and should be a good transformation. All right, y'all, it is the day of the parade. The plants are in, the sod is in, the house looks great. Let's go take a look. Here we go. Now don't ask me why the sod looks yellow. I did not do the sod, so I don't know what happened there. But plants look awesome. Now we did change a couple of the plants. We went with Oakland hollies on the corners. We did crepe myrtles instead of the Rose of Sharon. Here, the crepe myrtles look awesome. But yeah, the plants really make the house pop. The sod's actually really wet, so I can't walk on it, so I'm gonna walk on this border. All right, here's the view from the side, and we're gonna go all the way across. Just kind of showing you what it looks like before and what the front of this house looks like. Looks really good. A lot of traffic going in and out during the parade, so that's always a good thing. And they're checking out our plants. And we even have a sign over there doing some advertising. There you go, a little behind the scenes of what goes into a design for a parade home landscape. And builder was super happy, got lots of compliments on the plants and how the house is looking. So until next year, we'll do this all again.